So, Russell Wilson appears on the Pat McAfee show today. Make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the subscribe. These are just a few talking points. I didn't write down the whole entire interview. It was a 40-minute interview, but I got pretty much the meat and potatoes of the interview. Russell Wilson appears on the Pat McAfee show today. Here's some of what he said about the coach and his future in the NFL. Mike Tomlin is the greatest coach of our time. His attention to detail is amazing. He is in the building at 4:30 in the morning every day. I have so much more in the tank, man. I have a lot of years left and I want it to be with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have been in talks with Omar and Mike Tomlin. We have had our meetings. I love what those guys do and what they think we can do together to make this team great. He was also questioned about his disconnect with Arthur Smith. You know, every time you lose a couple games, people want to make a story. I love Arthur, and I think he's an amazing coach. Like it or love it, I think Russ is all in on Pittsburgh, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are all in on Russ. I got to edit that a little bit, but there it is. His little bit from his interview talking about the big story about Arthur Smith and how he had a disconnect with Arthur Smith. He said he loves Arthur Smith. Is that true? Is that not true? Who knows? Will they bring Arthur Smith back? Who knows? That's a big question mark too. I can honestly see Arthur Smith coming back if he doesn't get a head coaching job, and I don't know if there's too many head coaching jobs out there in the NFL. Pat McAfee basically introduced Russell Wilson as future Hall of Famer Russell Wilson, and I think that's pretty much true. He has the fifth best touchdown to interception ratio ever. One of the only players ever to rush for 5,000 yards in a career and throw for 40,000 yards in a career, which is pretty remarkable. One of the greatest dual threat quarterbacks ever to play the game. Very efficient. Has one of the best deep accuracy balls in the NFL. And, you know, started off the season hurt, got hurt in camp. Justin Fields went in there, played well, but let's be honest about Justin Fields. Justin Fields has never been a passer in the NFL, and everybody talks about this as a passing league. Yeah, he's a unique talent in the NFL, but he's never really done it through the air. He was a first-round pick. If he was going to be that guy, he would have been that guy already. Russell Wilson was a third-round pick. So everybody talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers need to tank for a first round pick. I mean, here is all the quarterbacks within the last decade that have been drafted in the top 10, to all the fans who hate Mike Tomlin and hate the way the Steelers are doing things and are saying, "Oh, they're just good enough to make the playoffs but not good enough to make the Super Bowl," because I guess in football, one man makes the entire roster, right? A quarterback's just going to change your roster. You don't need an offensive line. You don't need a great coach. You don't need a great defense. You don't need a defensive line, and you don't need to have a good general manager that has all the right contracts at the right time to make it all work. There's a lot of factors that go into building a football team. I mean, you got rookie contracts, you got veteran contracts. So you got to be able to draft good players at the right time. You got to be able to develop, and then when it does come time to sign your rookies to long-term deals, veteran contracts, you got to make good deals, and they got to be perfect deals. And even if they are perfect deals, it's not a perfect world. The NFL is a physical game, and sometimes your great players get hurt. Like it, love it, or hate it. What if a Patrick Mahomes goes down for the Kansas City Chiefs? Their franchise is pretty much in the gutter. If Josh Allen goes down for the Buffalo Bills, their franchise is pretty much in the gutter because you're investing so much money into those quarterbacks. And these so-called quarterbacks that are gonna revolutionize the franchise, and pretty much if we lose, just we gonna tank one season, get ourselves a top 10 quarterback, and that's going to change our franchise. Well, here's the Arizona Cardinals. They took Josh Rosen in 2018, and then they decided to take Kyler Murray in 2019. And Kyler Murray's had a couple good seasons, but has he ever brought the Arizona Cardinals to the promised land? I'm not going to say Kyler Murray's a total bust, but is he that franchise revolutionary quarterback that everybody's talking about, number one overall? And then Josh Rosen, the same organization in 2018, took him top 10, and they gave up on him after 1 year. Where's he at in the league? Mitchell Trubisky, where was he at? He was with the Steelers throwing interceptions, and now I don't even know where he's at. Carson Wentz led the Eagles to the playoffs, got hurt. Then Big Dick Nick Foles went in there, won the Eagles the Super Bowl. And where has Carson Wentz ever been? I'm not going to say Carson Wentz was a bust, but you might say he was a bust. Number 2 overall, had maybe 3 or 4 good years in the league, and now he's nowhere. Jared Goff, yeah, he's a good quarterback, but he still's never got it done. Marcus Mariota never got it done, I would say, is a bust. Jameis Winston had some good years, but he never did really anything. It was the most wins he ever got in a season was about 9, maybe 10 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had a 5,000-yard season, but he turns the ball over like crazy. So you can sit there and you can put up all the yards in the world, and if you're turning it over, you're losing games, and that's why Jameis Winston's not a winner and has never been a winner. So you can almost say that's a first-round bust. Blake Bortles, first-round bust. Baker Mayfield's playing all right with Tampa Bay. Won Cleveland a playoff game. Never won him a Super Bowl, and I don't think Baker Mayfield's ever going to win a Super Bowl. The only reason he was in the playoffs this year is because his division. That's the only reason Tampa Bay, they weren't really a playoff team in my opinion. If you're going to say the Steelers aren't a playoff team, you can't tell me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a playoff team. Because the only reason they were there because their division was so bad. So we can say that's a bust. Sam Darnold was a bust pretty much his entire career until this year when he went with the Vikings, and now he's won comeback player of the year. But where are the Vikings? Were they an early exit in the playoffs? Yes, indeed. Daniel Jones. Man, you want to talk about a bust? That was a horrible bust for the New York Giants. They've been picking in the top 10 for how long? And when was the last time the New York Giants made the playoffs? What, like a couple years ago with Saquon? And then they say, oh, running backs, they're a dime a dozen. You don't pay running backs. And where's he at? In Philadelphia. And he's loving life right now. Almost broke Eric Dickerson's record and about to take the Philadelphia Eagles to the Super Bowl. So you don't need an offensive line, you don't need a defensive line, and you don't need a running game to win, and you just need a quarterback to win games. But the way I see it is Jalen Hurts was a late round pick, has a great offensive line, has a great running back, has a great wide receiver, has a great coach, has a great defensive line, so it's a team game. Tua Tagliavea, he's doing okay, I guess, but he's never been to the big one neither. Justin Herbert, never been to the big one neither. Trevor Lawrence, getting all this money, and where was the Jacksonville Jaguars? And he was the surefire one out of Clemson, Trevor Lawrence. He was the surefire one, boy. So was Trey Lance. Where's Trey Lance? Went to the 49ers, didn't do nada, got traded to Dallas, and where's he at? Like the third string quarterback, Zach Wilson? He got replaced by Aaron Rodgers, 2 years in? They said, see you later, buddy. Bryce Young, it's his first year, but where's Carolina? They're still picking in the top 10 this year. They picked in the top 10 last year. Hey, but they got Bryce Young. Why aren't they in the Super Bowl this year? We're going to tank for a top 10 pick, and we're going to be in the Super Bowl, right? We're Carolina Panthers. They're one of the worst teams in the league. C.J. Stroud, okay, he's doing all right. So really the only one that's won a Super Bowl is Carson Wentz, who didn't win a Super Bowl, who was hurt in the playoffs, and Patrick Mahomes, who's the one. There's only going to be the 1 or 2 or 3 the ones in each generation, man. There's not these franchise quarterbacks. You have to build a team, you have to build a roster, and you have to build a team around a quarterback and his skill sets. Like, can Baker Mayfield possibly win a quarterback? Yeah, but he's going to have a team and offensive coordinator that's going to suit his playing style. Same with Sam Darnold. He found himself a good situation in Minnesota and won the comeback player of the year, but that he still hasn't won a Super Bowl. And I mean, you can argue he's a first round bust because shit, he hasn't been franchised. He hasn't been to, maybe this might have been his first Pro Bowl this year. But is he that guy? Is Kyler Murray really that guy? Joe Burrow made it to the Super Bowl, and they still haven't got it done. They missed the playoffs. Did they get in the playoffs last year? Barely. They finished third when they were predicted to go first. They have this high-flying offense. And, all these quarterbacks aren't that good outside of Patrick Mahomes. A lot of these guys are busts. Blake Bortles, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Mitch Trubisky, Josh Rosen, Zach Wilson. Anthony Richardson, I'd say, is probably going to be a bust, but we'll give him a chance. C.J. Stroud's really good. Bryce Young will give him a chance, but in Carolina, he'll probably end up being a bust. So, like, all these people saying we need a tank for a first-round pick or bring in Justin Fields. I mean, if Justin Fields was it, he would have been it. I don't think we're going to bring in Justin Fields. I think the Steelers have a ton of salary cap this offseason. They have $52 million in cap space. They can make a lot of cuts, like a Preston Smith who's making $15 million next season. You can clear that money right off the books right there, and that gives the Steelers almost 65. What would that make it? Almost $70 million in cap space. You can throw $30 million to Russell Wilson, and then they still have about $30 million they could play with, almost $35 million that they go out there and play with in free agency and add on to this roster, plus the draft, which we know the Steelers draft and develop so well. So, to me, tanking is never an option. And all these people wanting to get Mike Tomlin fired, and he's the reason we're just good enough to make it, but you can never get it done in the playoffs. There's a lot of factors that go into it. Ben Roethlisberger throwing multiple interceptions in playoff games. Everybody wants to talk about the defense. Well, I mean, if you got Pouncey muffing the snap and throwing the snap over Ben Roethlisberger's head the first play of the game and basically handing Cleveland points, and Ben throwing 4 interceptions in the first half, then basically handing Cleveland all those points that get counted against the defense. But the reality is Ben is out there throwing interception after interception after interception and losing them games. And you want to sit there, these people, these Ben apologists, everybody talks about Mike Tomlin apologists, but let's talk about the Ben apologists that want to put that game squarely on the defense, giving up 45 points. And well, Ben had an amazing second half. He had an amazing second half. When you're up 30 points after the first half, all the Cleveland Browns are doing is playing a cover 4, a cover 3. They're giving you everything underneath, and they're just taking the top off of the defense, and they're just saying, okay, you can throw it underneath and you can run the ball, but you're not going to beat us deep, and you're not going to get a quick touchdown. We're just going to cover deep. We're going to take away the touchdown. We're going to give you everything underneath. So Ben put up a bunch of garbage time stats in the second half after he blew it in the first half and they were completely out of it. So I don't want to hear it. The Jacksonville game, he completely blew that Jacksonville game. And then when we made the AFC Championship, Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, the 2 best playmakers, whom Ben threw the most yards in his career when Brown and Bell were there. That's when he put up the best numbers of his career. We're both injured in that AFC Championship game against New England Patriots and Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, who was a 6th round pick who was never meant to make it in the NFL, just like Russell Wilson is a 3rd round pick. So this idea that we need to tank and Justin Fields isn't the guy. Russell Wilson is a future Hall of Famer, just like Mike Tomlin is a future Hall of Famer. You cannot name me a better coach than Mike Tomlin that you're going to go out there in the open market and replace him with a better resume than that. So, really, that would be the next coach we would hire. To all the crowd that says Mike Tomlin's only a DEI hire. Well, guess what? The DEI hire crowd. There isn't no motherfucker out there right now with a better resume than Mike Tomlin. Old Mike T. There ain't not one person on the street with a better resume than that. And all you people saying he's mediocre and he doesn't win playoff games. Since 2007, the year Mike Tomlin was hired, the Pittsburgh Steelers are tied for the 9th most wins. And how many franchises are there in the NFL? 32 teams in the NFL. Mike T is 9th with the most playoff wins in the NFL. So I'm guessing being top 10 in playoff wins during Tomlin's tenure and having some of the most regular season wins with the Super Bowl is mid. The echo chamber Tomlin haters are just that, an echo chamber of uninformed opinion. And you want to know what an informed opinion is? There isn't a better quarterback with a better resume on the free agent market than Russell Wilson, unless the New York Jets decide to release Aaron Rodgers, and he is well past his prime. Russell Wilson coming in here is the best bet for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They can draft a quarterback possibly in the second or the third round, a Russell Wilson type, have him learn and groom and have Russell bridge the gap for that next quarterback who you can get on a nice cheap rookie deal. Like I said earlier in the stream, that you got to get players on good contracts. All these players that are getting drafted in the top 10, the Daniel Joneses, the Kyler Murrays, the Josh Allens, the Sam Darnolds, the guys that didn't make it, they get paid like they already are the franchise quarterback because they're getting drafted so high. It's a business. So those top 10 picks get high, $20 million, $30 million contracts right off the rip because they're drafted so high. And these quarterbacks, there is not one quarterback in this draft that is not a project, bro. That's not a project. So if you're going to take on a project quarterback, why are you going to spend a top 10 pick when you can go out there and get a linebacker that's 250, that runs a 4.3 40, that you know that you can plug and play, or an offensive lineman that you know is 300 pounds young, meaty, ready to knock heads in the trenches, because that's really where football's won and lost at the end of the day, is in the trenches. It's not pretty, it's gritty, and it's not on ESPN top 10 highlights, but that's what wins you football games, and that's what Pittsburgh Steelers football is all about. It ain't about these pretty boys, these diva wide receivers that get all the ratings and make all the headlines. It's about those boys down in the trench doing the dirty work, opening up the holes for all the pretty boys, and giving the Russell Wilsons time to stand in the pocket to make the throws so George Pickens can go up there and get those crazy catches that he gets. So, Mike Tomlin is a well above average coach by any single merit you look at it. Here it is. That's his biggest criticism, the playoff. Well, tied for ninth in the league with 32 teams. So he's well above average, and there's been a lot of stutter steps and a lot of bad business decisions and bad drafts, in my opinion, on Kevin Colbert, that a lot of people want to pass that buck off on a Mike Tomlin. When Tomlin's a coach, he doesn't have GM status like a Bill Belichick, like an Andy Reid. He doesn't. You can say he does, but he doesn't. May he have some creative input when in terms of, picking players and player needs? Yeah, but at the end of the day, it goes through Omar Khan, or it goes through Kevin Colbert, and it goes through Omar Khan, the general manager. That's how the Steelers run their organization, and those decisions are on him, And they probably didn't even want Justin Fields or thought they was going to get Justin Fields until Chicago said, hey, we're going to dump him off to you for a 6th-round pick. So Omar Khan's like, okay, we'll take that back up for nothing. Thank you very much, Chicago. But that's all Justin Fields really is a backup. Russell Wilson's at least got a year or two in the tank. And the best chance to win for the Pittsburgh Steelers is Russell Wilson being the quarterback. Period, point blank. You ain't getting a better quarterback with a better resume. He played great for Denver the year before he came here. He was hurt this year. It'll be his second year with the Steelers organization, in the Steelers offense. So it takes a little bit of time to get chemistry, too. You need to build team chemistry, team camaraderie. A lot of things come into play to make a great team. And it's so hard to stay competitive in today's NFL business with social media, with ESPN acting like player agents every day, and all these players have options. They basically think they're owners now. Like everybody's talking about, we have to extend Pickens. Why do we have to extend Pickens? We have one more year left on his rookie deal. If you want a new contract, go out there and earn it. Go out there and earn it. Make a Pro Bowl like you talk like you're a Pro Bowler every single year. You're one of the best wide receivers in the league, yet you've yet to make a Pro Bowl. Go out there and earn that extension, George Pickens, and we can franchise tag him. What? We own you, motherfucker. We own yo ass. You don't run shit here. We run shit here. We the boss and you the player. And that's where people get it all fucked up, man. Sorry I gotta put it like that, but that's how it is, man. You're on a rookie deal. You want a big contract. You want to beat Jamar Chase. You want to get to Jamar Chase money. You want to get Justin Jefferson money. Well, give me some numbers like Justin Jefferson be putting up, George Pickens. Give me some numbers like Jamar Chase be putting up, George Pickens, before you come out here, rah, 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 talking. You know who's been there, done that? Russell Wilson. You know who's been there, done that? Mike Tomlin. You know who hasn't been there and done that? TJ Watt, but he can put up all these numbers. He puts up the numbers, I'll give him that. But you want to talk about a position to where your athleticism means everything? It's the outside linebacker position. Quarterback position is like a wine. They only get better with age, okay? But an outside linebacker, I'd rather have my quarterback at a $30 million price tag than an old 31-year-old outside linebacker that is just not as physical as when he was 23, 24, a young pup trying to make a name and still trying to get that contract. Well, TJ got a big contract indeed, but his numbers took a very big dip this year, didn't he? Because the best of TJ, love it, like it, hate it, we're never going to see another 22 and a half sack season out of TJ at 31. We're just not. So, this is the last year of the deal. That's not here nor there. He'll be back. And, I believe Russell Wilson's going to be back because he's the quarterback that gives the Steelers the best chance next year to win and compete games. You can say, it's not about just winning games. It's about winning the Super Bowl. Well, you have to win that game on week 1. And you have to win that game on week 2. And you have to win that game on week 3. And you have to win that game on week 4. All the way down to week 17 to get to the playoffs, to win that game in the wild card, to win that game in the divisional round, to win that game in the NFC Championship or the AFC Championship game, and to win the Super Bowl, to go on to win those games. So it takes all those games to get there and then to hoist that Lombardi at the end. So, who gives the Steelers the best opportunity to win each game each week? And that's Russell Wilson, and that's Mike Tomlin coaching this team. And I believe Russell Wilson will be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. And I believe Mike Tomlin will win a playoff game next year. Given the salary cap situation, they draft well, and some of these young guys get better, like Zach Frazier, who made the all-rookie team this year. Logan Wilson, who made the all-rookie team this year. A lot of people who are hating on Joey Porter Jr. for a few bad holding calls, who's been a shutdown corner since he's come in the league. We got Patrick Queen, who's still young. We got our rookie first-round draft pick who got hurt at the beginning of the season, who was hurt all year, Troy Fatu. Can't even say his name, can't even pronounce his name. Replacing Dan Moore, who gave up the most sacks at his position last year. So now we have a first-rounder hopefully stepping in and plugging and playing in that position. Broderick Jones will slide over to his natural position and hopefully get better, who's still on a rookie contract. And we'll draft good players. And we have a lot of salary cap to where they can go out there and get themselves a T. Higgins. They can go out there and get themselves another outside wide receiver, running back, and players on defense. So not only do they can draft, they can add a lot of help in free agency this year. So I feel the Steelers are going to come back a pretty much a better roster with some more talent and they'll be revamped, reloaded in a division where the Baltimore Ravens are probably going to start losing a lot of talent, especially with all the money they just had to shell out to Lamar Jackson. Now they got to work around that $55 million contract, which basically eats up 20 to 25% of the Ravens' salary. So they're going to start losing talent on defense. They're going to start losing talent on offense. Same with the Cincinnati Bengals. They're not going to be able to bring T. Higgins back. They're going to lose one of them. They're either going to lose Hendrickson, a player who led the league in sacks this year for the Cincinnati Bengals on defense, which their defense was already abysmal with him, or they're not going to be able to bring both of them back. You're going to have to pick. It's down to they're at that point of their business decisions to would they rather bring T. Higgins back, or they need to bring their defensive end back. You can argue that till the cows come home. I'll leave that to the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, if I want to get a quick opinion on it, I'd say I'm bringing back the defensive player. I got Jamar Chase, I got Burrow, I can live without Higgins, and I need my defensive end and I need my sack guy. But that's up to Cincinnati and their GMs what they're going to do. Point is, you can't keep all this talent on one roster. And it's hard to keep rosters together, and there's so much change on rosters every year. And, I think the Steelers have a good team. They got a lot of good young contracts. They just need to put in the right veterans around them. And they're going to be in the dance next year, and they're going to have a chance. And what gives them the best chance is bringing Russell Wilson back, quarterback, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, I would love to draft a guy, but there's not that many great free agent quarterbacks out there. I mean, it's maybe Sam Darnold. Maybe. I don't know. I think you probably get Russell Wilson cheaper. I think it's the best option for him, and it's the best option for the Steelers. I mean, Russell can maybe go to the Giants. Maybe he can go to Oakland. But he doesn't really have a chance with none of those teams. He's just a guy that's just going to come in there and that's just the guy. They're just like, we're bringing in Russell Wilson. Da-da-la-dee-da. But he doesn't really have a real chance at competing at anything. He has the best chance at competing at something with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which makes me think he'll probably take a team-friendly deal, gets his face up, gets his rating up, gets his name up. He gets the most clout. He's in the limelight because the Steelers are in prime time at least 4, 5, 6 games a year. And if it's not prime time, it's America's game of the week on Sundays at 4:30. So, like, every game the Steelers are in are one of the highest rated games. It works best for Russell. It works best for the Steelers. And at the end of the day, this is a business. And I think that's the business decision that's going to be made for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They get like a 2-year deal done with Russell Wilson, like a 2-year, $60 million deal with some incentives on his contract. You throw for 4,000 yards, we'll throw another $5 million on top of that. You throw for 35 touchdowns, we'll give you another $5 million, and if you do both, we'll give you another $5 million. So you got 3 incentive-based contracts, something like that. I don't know. Then you work out the particulars, but hopefully his cap hit would be something around 30 to 35 million. That's somewhat team friendly for a Russell Wilson caliber quarterback, in my opinion. Especially, being his age, getting up there, he's got to be reasonable, and the Steelers have to be reasonable, and I think that's reasonable for both parties, somewhere in that range. And I think Omar and Mike Tomlin are going to get it done, especially given what all Russ was saying in his interview today with the Pat McAfee, saying how much he loves Tomlin, talking about being in talks with Omar Khan, and signs to me are just pointing to Russell Wilson being the guy for the Steelers for the next, at least 2 years, possibly 3, to bridge a gap and hopefully find a franchise guy in a draft you can groom up behind him. And that's what football's all about. Russell Wilson was a 3rd-round pick, and now he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick, now one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So tanking for a 1st-round pick is just insane to me. The fact that the Steelers are competitive every year makes players of Russell's caliber want to come here, want to sacrifice, and want to give back to the community and to the organization. And that, to me, more than anything, more than football, is what the standard's all about. And that's why they're going to get this deal done with Russell Wilson. And that's why he's going to come back and play for the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, because he knows with the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, they're all in every year to try to horse that Lombardi. And that's his singular focus, and that's what the Steelers' singular focus is, and that's what Mike Tomlin's singular focus is. And better believe they're going to have a chance next year.